Hi everyone, it's Tarona Girl Hawkins, retired psychic medium, and I'm going to discuss a good few things today. And the first one is, I've had a lot of people asking me to look into David Wilcock, but I have done a little bit of looking in what I could pick up, nothing intrusive, and I'm not going to speak about him yet because in all honesty I feel that it's very, very disrespectful to his family. It just passed over. You imagine if you've got a loved one that's just passed over and everybody's on YouTube is asking all about it. It's terrible. I know some have already done it. That's up to them. I'm not criticising their choice, but for me, I like to do a little bit more respect. That's just me. Also, there's a lot of these spirit boxes that's coming up with so-called voices of everybody that's passed over. A long time ago, I've taken it down now, but a long time ago I did do YouTube on spirit boxes, and I equate them to Ouija boards, which are very, very dangerous. And I can say that with authority because in my time I've done lots and lots and lots of house clearing, exorcisms, and yes, you can do it without being a priest. You can do exorcisms, and that's not always smooth going because I've had some pretty horrendous experiences with that, and I did take paranormal researchers along with me, and we went to lots of places, including a haunted hotel where kettles would boil without being plugged in. I'm serious, I'm not joking. It was on film. I've lost contact with this paranormal guy. He moved away. I did contact him a few years ago and he said he'd got all of this stuff, but he never got back to me, and I've no address, so I can't I can't seek him out. So not that I'm trying to prove anything, I don't. You either believe it or you don't, that's your choice. But in one of the hotels a plug just flew out. It was all filmed, and it was a very, very interesting hotel experience, and so much came out of that. Maybe I'll have to do another ghost investigations book in time, but it's time, and even though I'm retired I get so busy with different things. And I don't like spirit boxes. I'm not telling anyone not to use it, but I had an experience where someone was using a spirit box and something came through. Remember, you're not saved just by a screen of the TV. If these things are demonic, they can come through. They can come through. Believe it or believe it not, that's your choice. But I know from my experience, and it was something demonic. It wasn't nice, and it took me flipping ages to clear it. It must have been a week's work, not a day's. So, just tread carefully. That's all I'm saying to you. And as for David Wilcock, let him rest in peace, at least for a while. It's like, imagine we've had an operation and when you come to, you're not with it and you can talk nonsense. Well, that's how it is for a lot of those that pass over. They need time to heal on the other side. Either a lot don't know this or they don't care. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a working psychic medium anymore, because what people are requesting is damn right rude and I think offensive at times. So that's my take on it. Like it or lump it, as I say. today I want to talk about several different things, and especially about the different kinds of aliens and what I've seen. But before I do, I've got to say this. I have, for the last couple of weeks, had a young man come through asking me to give a message. Okay, I don't know his name. It's not giving me his name. I can't hear his name. Whether he'll come back, and he will, I don't know. But this is what I got from him. He is from the Los Angeles, USA region. He has shown me the Hollywood Hills. I don't know if he lives near there or whatever. And this is the second motorbike guy that's come through. One I told you before that was picked up, and there's this one that's come through. And I say motorbike because he has shown me his leather jacket. I would say is a biker, okay? And all he keeps saying makes no sense to me whatsoever, but he keeps saying, mention to my family about Home Alone. And I did send out the thought, ask, is that the movie Home Alone? You know, good movies, there was 2 or 3 of them. And he said yes. Now, whether this young man worked in Hollywood as well, I don't know, but there's some connection there. So that's something I want to say to you before I go any further, to convey that message. So whoever this message is for, I can assure you that he's fine and he's fit and he's well, okay? And I just needed to pass that on. So I've done that now, okay? If I get any more from him, I will obviously report in future vids, but that's it for now. Now, on saying that, I still will burst into some coughing. I have got meds, I think I told you, but they will take up to 3 months to work. I do feel they're already working, and I want to thank my lovely daughter for this, because I'd had this cough for about 18 months, couple of years. I've been sent for x-rays, sent for other stuff, and there was still no answer to why the cough, my voice. Well, at Easter, when my daughter came down, and she is a GP, I'm not mentioning any names, in another part of the country, and she said, Mum, I think it could be your sinuses dripping onto the back of your throat, and that will affect your voice, etc. She is very thorough. I'm not saying it just because it's my daughter, and I don't go asking her questions for anyone else, so please don't message me, can I ask her this, that and the other, because she won't do it. She's too busy. They're really, really busy these days. But she suggested some medication. I rang the doctor, and I've got this medication, but it can take up to 3 months. So I'm having to be patient, but you will hear my voice going from time to time, and time to time I have to have a cough. But hopefully what I'm noticing is getting less and less, so I'm very happy about that. Okay, so that said and done, I'm now going to come into the talk with aliens and all the different species that we have that's living amongst us. Now, I do not believe for 1 minute that they just come through the sky. They are coming from portals, other dimensions that they're getting through, and this is possible. Again, a few months ago, I told you that I'd experienced seeing the matrix. I could see all the grids, but what I didn't tell you, I did see it again a few months. I think it was maybe about February this year as well. That I did see it again, but this time it was smaller, and there are grids in it. I wasn't afraid. I was more intrigued, so what's going on? Why am I being shown this twice? But I did. So the matrix or this grid is possible, and I can understand how a friend of mine, Kira, who does or did do healing work. I don't know if she still does it anymore. And she healed by going into a grid. I'm not saying it's the same matrix, but it's that sort of thing, where she finds out different things. I mean, she's had a lot of good results, and also obviously being slagged off, as some people choose to do. Because we've got a lot of hate and jealousy in this world as it is now, and this is why things are going backside up, basically. Or, well, I should say something else, but I won't, because it's not polite. But let's say things are not working out because of all this evil influence and everything that's going on, and the fact that people are changing. And I see that with some of the psychic work. I've done my best to help for no money, and I'm just disgusted. I got a message from a woman who got my private number. She shouldn't have done, but she did. And she was going on about all the bad luck and everything else. And will I do a reading? She'll pay for me to do a reading. I said, no, I'm retired. And she mentioned a few things. So I tried to help. I suggested a few prayers that she could do. And I gave her a clearing idea, no charge. I took my time doing this, and then I said to her, I'm not doing a reading. And then she comes back again with a massive email with all these questions she expected me to answer. They must think, if you're psychic, that you're as thick as shite, to be honest with you. Well, I'm not. And all she was trying to do was to just get a reading by other means. We are not stupid. Real psychics are not stupid. About time you got it into your head. Just because there might be certain religions that will try and have a go to bring us down, yeah, that goes off. But we're not stupid. Not the real psychics anyway. So I just returned the email and said, I'm not answering any questions, I'm doing no reading, and I'm afraid I had to block her. And that takes something for me to block someone, but I'm just not taking any more shite anymore. I do this channel for free, I get no payments, and it's a hobby, as I've, but an informative hobby. And I find things very interesting, and so many experiences I've had that are interesting, which I want to share with you. And anybody that comes back being really offensive, I will block you. Beggar off, go to another channel and do it. I feel sorry for you, actually, if you've got to spend your day going through certain channels to leave nasty remarks. But there we go. I mean, there's a lot of things I could say, but I won't, for safety. And it's worth mentioning this. Yes, I've had a lot of threats. And, it's okay, people asking you to go onto their various shows with like a list of what you can and you can't say. But they don't offer any protection for what information they want. What information I want to give, I give freely. And you know, one of the nicest channels that I've been on talking to was a year or two back, and that was the Sonia Poulton show. Lovely lady, very respectful, really nice and genuine, and that's what I like. I like genuine people, not those that just want to make money out of you and you know, won't offer anything in return. And you've got to watch for that, because there's a lot of those that's on YouTube now. You know, I've really thought about YouTube, and I've noticed that a lot of my vids have not been getting through, and I've mentioned this in the past and I'll mention it again. And I do ask that if you're not getting my vids and you want them, just look up my name, go into whatever vid and unsubscribe and resubscribe, and that way you should get them. Apart from that, there's nothing else I can do. I'd like and I want to keep this channel going. I have some really good people on it, and I know I've got some really good genuine psychics, which I'm really pleased of joining me here. That's great, lovely people. But I'm not going to keep doing YouTube if everything keeps getting less and less and less, because they're not getting out, because that's a waste of my time, and it's not fair to subscribers either, is it really? You know, and on saying that, please subscribe, you know, and press the like button, and do pass these vids on, which does help me with these algorithms. Right, now that said, now I'm going to talk about aliens. And I'm going to try and do it the best way that I can to explain to you. There are many different alien groups on this planet, and there has been from the day it begun. And they was here, or should I say, they've been here since we've been here. I actually feel that a lot of us I once asked a question, and before anybody says anything, yes, I do believe in the highest God, and I do believe in Jesus Christ. Not everything that's said, but I do believe there was Jesus, and he did a lot of miracle things, and I do follow that path. So if you want to label me, then I'm a Christian. Even if it goes against some of the things that's written about clairvoyance, if people studied things correctly, they would see that there was maybe called prophets or whatever, which I think is a really, I wouldn't use the word prophet. It sounds a bit, you know, snobbish. We're just people with extrasensory perception, and a lot of that could be through bloodlines, I feel. I could be wrong, but that's my feeling. So let me start with these aliens. Now, I have seen some of these in person. There are those, if you can remember this series V that was on many years ago, if not, look it up. And the aliens there, I think it was all of them, they had, like, the eye was just like a slit, you know, like more like a lizard slit. I used to do readings for a couple of people that had eyes like this, and I'm still not sure that they weren't alien. They were nice enough people, didn't bother me. I do the readings, and I did them up to the day before I left the area that I first started doing the readings in. Also, there are alien stroke demons, because I do think a lot of them are demonic, but not all. The demonic ones, let me try to describe this. I've seen shapeshifters, literally seen them before my eyes. Well, I'm not very good at seeing out of one eye, but I was in those days. And I've seen one in a courtroom when I was supporting somebody that was in court. And I seen one of the panel change. And it's so quick, and you look at, you think, what did I actually see? Some of the shape shifting, if any of you can remember a film called The Devil's Advocate, and I mention that because I watched that about a week ago, and on YouTube, their movies, and and I went through that, and then it came to one scene where the lady in it, well, the wife of, as we know as Keanu Reeves, and the women that was with her trying dresses on, once they put the dresses over their head, the face, like, all change, like demonic looking. They exist. They exist. And they walk round in human form. So unless you catch them when they're shape-shifting, and you can if you want to do, if they're with you long enough, they're, as I say, I call them demonic things. So, just be careful who you mix with. And this is why I try to warn you against some of these spirit box listening to. I mean, it could be slaughtered for that, but I really don't care. I'm just saying it as it is. Then we have what's known as the little grey men, etc. These beings do exist, and yet it has been kept from us for various reasons. And a lot of it is not just to stop the fear, but because there's been agreements made with some of these aliens that they can kill cattle, people, and take the blood. But one of the most interesting things I came across was at a friend's home a few days ago, and it really made me sit up and think. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure if you searched on YouTube enough you would come up with it. And it was telling us how the film Predator was made on a story that's supposedly genuine. I can only say supposedly. And it was during the Vietnam War. There was a lot of soldiers that was found hanging up on trees, and their skin had been taken away from them, and a dreadful sight. And apparently this happened a lot, and also there's talk of this happening in Brazil, jungles, etc. And it was very, very interesting, and it said that was the idea that came from Predator. So I feel, and have thought this for a lot of times, a lot of these filmmakers, when making these horror films, are taking it from real life, or part of it from real life, and you can understand why they're doing it this way. It's sort of a warning, but it's to let you know. You see, it's not just, people say aliens as if it's just one set of aliens. There's not. There's many, many species. It's a little bit like, and I can't remember the name of this, but a few years ago I was watching a series. I don't know if it was Netflix, when I used to have Netflix. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a series where humans turned into animals on various occasions. Well, the head did, and there was lots of different species of those. And I cannot, for the life of me, think of the name of the programme, but I'm sure some of you out there will. And that, there's truth based on that. The same as The Simpsons. It's very strange that a lot of things that's happened, are happening, was mentioned there. Again, it's getting it out, because the law of the universe is whatever they're doing, whatever there is that's hiding, it is the law of the universe that they let you know. So they'll do it in ways like that, so most people don't even twig what it is. Now, talking of twigging, another thing that I glanced that day at my friends on YouTube was another podcast, and it was a preacher of some kind saying about his experience with aliens. And this sounds a little bit far-fetched what he was saying, but if we think about it, it doesn't. And he mentioned that he was visiting some so-called religious group and looking at whatever he was looking at, and he said he's seen one of them transfer, shapeshift into a tree. And I thought, tree? And then I thought, well, I'm not going to totally dismiss it, because shapeshifters, if they can shape into anything, then why not something like that? Maybe that's why, if there's forests where these beings have been seen and they can shapeshift to look like and blend in with the forest, and that's what they're going to do. So that makes sense. Well, it does to me. If you think about it, you can't just have 90% of the truth. You've got to go with all of it, at least until it's been investigated more and you can see whether it's the truth. So, that's how I read it, and I will research more into that. And if it's a load of rubbish, it's a load of rubbish. But it did seem very sincere. So that impressed me as well. Bigfoot, yeah, definitely. Definitely, there's a Bigfoot. Some of them not as nice as others. I believe they live underground. I believe that they were maybe early humans, and somehow they escaped the flood and went underground, and they know they can come through various portals and things like that. I also do believe that a lot of aliens live under the ocean. Ideal place for them. I mean, people have spoke of seeing crafts coming out of the ocean, and that would be very feasible. I mean, last time I spoke about the blocking out of the sun and how I thought it was possible, so it becomes some of these aliens, and I think maybe some of the nastier ones, cannot breathe in our atmosphere, and so the dimming and the poisoning of different things would make it so that they could breathe. But not all aliens would be bad. That's my thought. And I have heard as well that some of them are treated very cruelly by powers that be, which is not on, why should they be tortured? Why not investigate and find out? Because there's a lot of the knowledge that could be passed on. I also feel that a lot of cancers have been brought through from other dimensions. I really do. and a lot of other plagues and things, as well, of course, as I'm not going to call them elite, because they're not elite, they're just scum with billions of pounds, and they are sadists and want to kill off a lot of humanity. That's something else that they seem to be big in at the moment. And people must wake up. They really must wake up. I was watching again on YouTube earlier this morning, where a guy in, I think it was Amsterdam, Netherlands anyway, how he asked for President Trump to obliterate their country because of all the laws that's coming in. There's some terrible laws. And he was saying that there is a law where euthanasia, where even kids of 6 and 7 can have to be euthanized, sorry, can't pronounce that, well, to be killed without even their parents having any knowledge. I mean, come on, that's not a choice of a well put together, sane, kind government or whoever is at the back of that. That is these evil beings, and half of these leaders and half of the scientists, these greedy beggars, they're not human. They're just in human form. It's sad. I know when I first started getting into these aliens or demonic stuff many years ago, I want to say through doing exorcisms, because I did see a lot when I was doing that, and I started taking more notice, and when I watched the TV, I had a big spasm of seeing, and this is when my eyes was good, I could see shape-shifting very quickly with a lot of newsreaders, not with a film that had been doctored to get hits, to make money for these people that think, that's all they've got to do is lie. But it actually watched it, and for a brief second, maybe the average person couldn't see it. I've seen a lot of them, a lot of the top ones, and politicians, and royalty, and a lot of other influential people. And basically, there's a lot of talk with the Epstein and the eating human flesh and the rest of that. Well, of course they do, because that's what they do. Half of these people are not human, or not fully human, and that's for sure. But I do think, and not everyone, as I've said before, dementia is a terrible thing, Alzheimer's is a terrible thing. But just note how many top people are becoming demented. And, I'm not saying all, but it does make me wonder how many of them are actual flesh eaters. I can't think of anything more vile. But these people do this. And, there's many ways to sell the soul. It's not just writing a document and signing it in blood. It's being involved in these wicked practices. And people do that because they want money, they want to get on, they want film roles, they want top jobs. And yeah, might sound good when they're driving the fancy cars and everything else, but they cannot be happy, because once they've just overstepped the mark with that, lots of other things will start to come into their lives as well. And they just become totally taken over, and this can happen. And there's so many that want to do this, that's walking the earth now, more than any other time in history. So that's basically what I want to say about these aliens and demons, and all those that have asked me with David Wilcock, and I'm not even going there. I prefer to bring through people that have contacted me, spirits that have contacted me, not just do it to suit the big audience. I don't work like that. And you know, if that's not what you want, then you go on their channels. You know, I don't care. I don't like that. Everything must be done with respect, and I think there's too many that not mine on my channel, but there's too many others that are, whether they are psychic, whether they are remote viewers. There's one or two that I question, but obviously I'm not going to mention names. That's just my opinion. But just look at how what's the word? There's nothing wrong with making a living. And when I worked as a psychic, I had to make a living. Although I did do a lot of stuff for free. I really did, to help people. Maybe that's why I've not got money where others had. But I've no regrets on that. However, just look at a lot of them with the business motivation. Yeah, you've got to make a living, but some, it's beyond it. And just look and try and read the person. A lot of you will say to me, oh, can't you show us how to do this, that and the other? Certain things I can and I will, and there's certain things I won't. But just watch them, watch how they talk, listen to what their spiel is and what they want to do. You know, a lot of it is just business, and the ones that are exploiting a talent, then trust me, they won't be around to get to my age, that's for sure. And psychics don't like to talk about other psychics. I just mentioned last week that I like Sloane Bella, because I do, because I know she's genuine, and I can, you know, I can see that. And I've only been watching her a little while. It's because a lot of you kept telling me about her. And I've looked at some of the others which have been recommended, and I don't think much, no. But hey, what's it matter? What's my opinion? You know, I'm just a retired psychic now, so I'm not on the scene. But do be careful you don't get sucked in, and do be careful what you get sucked in with. Otherwise, you'll be needing more than a television switch to switch things off, and that's a warning for you. And I can't do any more, so don't come back to me, please, when you're listening to half of this rubbish and you start picking up entities that have been around since these things happened. Don't come to me. Find someone else to do the clearing. I'm not being callous, but I'm just not doing any more. I'm happy to help to tell you prayers to do for family curses and things, and a few other tips on clearing. I'm happy to do that, but I'm not doing all the work for you. You've got to start using your gut feeling, because if you don't use your gut feeling, then you're not psychic. You're not. You listen to that gut feeling. That's the important thing. So yeah, it's a bit more serious today, but I don't take the topics I've discussed lightly, and I want to be very honest with you on that, because I would hate that anyone does become really possessed, because it just ruins lives and families, and the person that's possessed doesn't think they are, do they? You know, they just don't. And you know, let's stay well, healthy, and you know, with a good heart, but not being used, but you know, to keep a good heart, because trust me, that is really hard to find these days, and the way of the world, things are getting worse, and the only way it can pick up is if each one of us just shows a little bit of kindness to his fellow man, basically, and then, you know, from that we can hope changes come. But sadly there are some people that you cannot help, and that's something that took, you know, many years for me to actually realise. So that's it for this week. Be interesting to see some of your comments or experiences. And that's it. Oh, and thanks for those that have told me that they're buying my book. And have a good week, and I'll see you again next week. Okay, bye for now.